Ben Nash here. I'm a co-founder at XY Advisor and founder of financial advice business Pivot Wealth. My business baby I started from scratch a bit over 6 years ago. In that time, I've leveraged some of the learnings of the XY community to scale the business and become one of the better known financial advice businesses for high income accumulators. You can join me each Tuesday as I have the privilege of interviewing some amazing people where I'll selfishly be able to continue my personal journey to improve every aspect of my advice process, and hopefully you can learn a few things on the journey as well. Jump over to xyadvisor.com if you haven't signed up already to share and learn from other advisors, or simply download the app.
First Sentier Investors is a global asset management group managing $247.3 billion of assets as at 30th of September 2021. They have 17 independent teams operating across equities, fixed income, listed and direct infrastructure, and multi-asset, led by principles of responsible investment and stewardship. They are home to FSSA Investment Managers, an Asian and global emerging markets equities investor. Stewart Investors, a pioneer in emerging market equities and sustainable investing. And Real Index Investments, a systematic equities manager.
Hey guys, Ben Nash from XY Advisor here, and today I'm really excited to be here with a good mate of mine, Adele Martin, money mentor, gun advisor, marketing superstar. Adele is Newey sort of based loosely, runs a scale tech-driven sort of advice and financial education business. Has recently exited her one-on-one advice business, which is a whole story in itself, no doubt. And he's doing a bit of a new project around helping advisors as well. So I'm keen. I am not underplaying the fact that Adele is a superstar when it comes to marketing. So keen to unpack some of those insights and talk about some of the lessons that she's learned on her journey of, actually, I won't say how many years, but it's a long time. She's learned a lot of things. So Adele, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Look, I'm keen to jump into some of the growth and marketing hacks that you found to be helpful for you. But before we do, I'm keen to selfishly pick your brain a little bit on teams and team growth. I know we're hiring at the moment. We've been hiring for a while, trying to find advisors and other team members in the business. And I think that as your business grows, you come to that realization that the team is all important, and in fact ends up being the actual business for you. And you've had a few different iterations of the work that you've done. But what have been the big lessons that you have learned around building a great team?
Yeah, so lots of lessons that I've learned. Firstly, I think taking a step back and seeing where the bottlenecks of the business actually are. So rather than just chucking people at it, where are the actual problems? So as an example, when I first started early on, I didn't necessarily need a PA. I could use technology to solve my problem of like using calendar booking. So I'm always, firstly, before I just hire people, I always think, can I try and automate or use technology to solve this problem first? What actually am I trying to solve? So that's the first thing. The other thing that I've tried to do, so that's one example, calendar bookings is a simple one. The other one is, do I need another advisor, or is there a way that I can just reduce the time that I spend with clients? So, but still give them an amazing, valued, incredible experience. So one of the things we've done is we've automated the onboarding experience. And so we've got a program that they would go through before they saw me one-on-one as an advisor. It'd be step one, a welcome video. This is what working together is going to look like. Video two would be, module two would be around goal setting, and the clients would do a lot of the legwork that would normally get done one-on-one by themselves. Step three would be risk profiling and questionnaire and all the stuff that I would usually explain one-on-one. So yeah, I'm always thinking, do I actually need to, employ people? Because employing people, you've got to find them, you've got to onboard them, you've got to mentor and train them. It's a big, time and money. So do I actually have to do that? And then the second thing is, if I do need to have a team, and I've worked and trained lots of advisors in my time, be really clear about what their role is going to be. Have a training plan that documents what you want to achieve by when, so that everyone's expectations are super clear. Most people just want to know if they're doing a good job. and how are they going to know if they're doing a good job? So we really need to make that clear. By the end of week 1, this is what we expect. By the end of week first month, this is what we expect. And then have, those regular scheduled check-ins so you could make sure that they're doing it. So yeah, I think that's definitely something, I'd say is get really clear about your expectations. And then the other thing I'd think about is, can this position be part-time? It doesn't necessarily have to be full-time, particularly if you're growing and scaling a business. You mightn't have, the budget to employ someone full-time, but maybe you could make them full-time, part-time, and then over time increase it. So that's worked really well for me. Can they work from home? So I know now in the new, COVID world, working from home is sort of the norm. I've worked from home for 5 and have a virtual business for 5+ years. And that really allowed me to have a team from anywhere in Australia or the world. So, think about, can this be virtual? Because that's going to expand my reach, not just for marketing for clients, but for my team as well. And then lastly, sorry, I know I'm taking a whole heap of information here.
That's good. I want the gold. I'll take all the tips I can get.
The other thing I think is super critical is especially if you're running a virtual team, is just having those regular daily check-in points with your team, that 10-minute huddle at the start of it. So the huddle from us would look like, looking at the diary, what's coming up today, and then, how did that calendar appointment get in there? That needs to be moved, or, has that been done? So that's the first thing. And then everyone goes around and says, what were their top 3 tasks from yesterday? Are they done, not done, or in progress? And then we say, what are our top 3 tasks for today? And then we say, is there any roadblocks, challenges, issues that you need help with? So we have a little framework that we use to make sure that we are connecting with people, with our team every day. And so, that's a little framework that we use. Top 3 tasks from yesterday, top 3 tasks for today, roadblocks, challenges, issues. So they're sort of information, but that's some tips on hiring.
Yeah, look, I think that team rhythm becomes all important, and there's a lot of different ways. Like, there are some elements that I think are helpful across a lot of businesses, and then there's also, every business is a little bit different. So finding out what works for you. But one of the big things that I've learned is that there's a difference between having great team members and having a great team. And I think both of those, yes, you need to focus on bringing great team members in, but then you need to focus on how do you work well as a team. Making sure you're creating a really positive environment for people to be really excited to go to work every day, whether that's a virtual environment or whether it's a physical environment or whether it's some sort of combination, which is probably more common these days. And then, interactions and how do we communicate and all of these things. It's like a whole nother facet, which I had never thought of. It's just like, God, just, make sure that there's good work to be done, and then let's do our best at getting some good people in. But I think the more that, you lean into that, how we're working together, then the more you get out of your people. And even those little things, not so little things, like having those clear progression milestones and giving people feedback. I've found that our team really appreciate, more than we sometimes think as advisors or, leaders in a business as well. So, appreciate those insights. I just made a whole bunch of notes there as we've been chatting as well. Adele, I'm keen to talk a bit about growth, because I know that you grew a financial planning business. You've now got the My Money Buddy course, which is the education and sort of fully tech driven, no one-on-one stuff. We're just chatting online about the fact that you're not having to do sales calls or meetings, and a lot of it's sold on chat and delivered sort of at scale. And I know from the sort of previous conversations that we've had that you've had some pretty tremendous growth around that. What do you think have been the biggest drivers of that growth?
Yeah, so I think a couple of things. Firstly, I've always invested in myself, so working with a coach or going to conferences, overseas. So I think that's the first thing. And I think about what I've spent on that, and it's a very big number. But I wouldn't have got the growth I have if I didn't have that. So I think that's been important. The other thing is I've also focused on not just marketing. The lead generation is one thing. What I've learned is that nurture piece. After you get them into your world, how do you nurture them? that nurture piece is really important for building trust. So when I'm talking about nurture, I'm talking about using a Facebook group, using a podcast, using email to build up that trust with them. So yeah, that nurture piece has really helped, and it's really improved my sales process, because by the time someone comes and sees you, they feel like they already know you. A podcast is particularly great for that. If someone's listened to me for 26 hours on a podcast,
Yeah.
they already know me. They've listened to all my episodes. They know my kids' names. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's been really important. That part of it as well. The other thing I've done with marketing, which is I don't rely on centers of influencers for leads. Early on, I did do that. I've done the BNI early on, very early on. I just never liked that. It was always a bit hit or miss, whether the accountant was busy or not busy, whether I got leads, having to I just felt like I was flogging a dead horse, having to educate and tell them what to say and how to say it. And, so I have years ago gone away from that center of influence stuff. Not to say I don't do it. I'm happy to share one of the strategies that I've used in center of influencers that actually has worked for me. One of the best center of influencers that continues to work for me is working with business coaches. So I'll talk about that. But I don't want them just to be my main focus is I generate the leads myself. And so that way I have more control about it. I think the other area which has driven my business growth, and this is sometimes a little bit scary, is being okay with making mistakes. So not everything is going to work first time. In fact, some things aren't going to work at all. So I think you only grow and learn if you're making mistakes. So that's part of it. Not seeing mistakes as this bad thing. Like at school, we get a cross or a tick, and a cross is seen as a bad thing. You fail. Well, actually, it's actually an opportunity to learn. And so, I think about my daughter who's learning to walk at the moment. If she would have, the first time she fell over, if she would have not got back up, she would never have now learned to walk. Those mistakes are part of life. And so, knowing that mistakes aren't a bad thing, they just mean you're learning and growing. So that's been the other big thing, my mindset around mistakes, and seeing them as, not a bad thing, but it's actually a great thing, because it means you're learning and growing, and it means you're taking risks.
Yeah, I think that you can't get everything right all the time. And I think if you're worried about either making things perfect or never making a mistake, you're never going to do anything. But I like you, when I started my business, I never wanted to rely on the traditional sort of centers of influence or referral partners to grow my business, because I always felt that, then you're reliant on them. And I suppose now I'm fortunate we do have a couple of really good or like a handful of good partners that introduce us to people when they feel that we can help them. But there's still the vast majority of the clients that we get are self-generated through our content and nurture, and obviously referrals from clients as your business grows as well. Because I think, for me, is the other downside of this, the referral partner or centers of influence type referrals, is that for my business, we've got a really set sort of client that we want to work with, the ones that we're confident we can add a ton of value to, that are at a certain life stage, that are of a certain psychographic as well as just a certain financial position. And I've found that where you have people in your network that introduce people in the past, that sometimes you almost feel like a bit of an obligation to, if someone isn't the right fit, not to squeeze them into your model, but then to spend more time with them so that you feel like you're, making them really happy. And then they go back to the person and say that they had a really great experience, where sometimes if that person had just come, randomly and put an inquiry through the website or booked up a call or something, you might just say, look, we're just not the right business for you, and you're better off doing this or this instead. So I think it's, I think that they all have their merits. And I know that there's a lot of advisors that have built great businesses that just around that. And I think good luck to you for cracking the code. But I think regardless, even if you are doing that really well, that knowing how you can sort of make it rain on your own goes a long way to you controlling your own destiny. So I'm keen to unpack that in a little more detail. What are some of the key marketing channels that you have used, and what have you found? What worked for you and what hasn't worked so well?
Yeah, so being a guest on other people's podcasts, that's worked really well. I do a regular radio show. I've also built up my PR list a lot. So, now I regularly get called for, I've done full feature articles in places like Mamma Mia, which for my audience is, a great thing because a lot of eyes on a place like Mamma Mia. So, yeah, that sort of stuff, webinars and speaking events for business coaches. So that's worked, really well because they often have an accountant who does their, business side of stuff. But they don't have anyone that's ever talked to them about their personal finances. So, they start to sort of get, I should actually not just have my eggs in this business basket. I should start to build my wealth. And so, business coaches want to add value to their clients, and they're continually looking for more information and education for them. So, I can add value that way, make them look like a superstar, give great content. But at the same time, I'm adding my list as well. So, yeah. And I find that business clients too are more likely to invest in themselves. That, it's easier for them to, paying for things, is not a foreign concept, and paying for coaching.
Yeah.
So, no, that's worked really well. I get lots of leads from doing that, add value to their audience, build mine as well. I've done the same thing for mortgage brokers as well. So I've worked with a few mortgage brokers where, they might have a podcast or they might have a Facebook group, and I've done some, a 5-day challenge or something inside those groups. So that's worked as well. How I use that is I'm very strategic about making sure I'm always driving traffic from those things into my Facebook group. So, and I'll say stuff like, say I'm on a radio interview, and they're asking me about how to get more, how to drive growth or how to get more income or something like that. I'll say, actually, we have a cheat sheet on that, on how to ask for a pay rise in our Facebook group, the Savings Squad. We've got like a really detailed process that goes through that. Or actually, we've got a script on how to negotiate your bills and what to do if they say no. So I strategically mention it to make sure we're driving traffic to the Facebook group. Then inside the Facebook group on entry, I'm asking 3 questions. So one of the questions is, do you want to work with me? Something like, do you want to work with me on your money plan? Or something like that, or to increase something like that. Don't quote me exactly, but there's a question saying, do you want to work with me? And when they say yes, that's a trigger for us to have a conversation. And so also as part of that opt-in, I'm asking them, do you want our new case study that shows how they went from X credit card debt to investing? Do you want that case study? Drop your email below. They drop their email, and then we send them a case study via email, and now we've got their email address, and then they go into our nurture process. So everything top of funnel drives into the Facebook group. The Facebook group, we ask 3 questions. One of the questions is, getting an email address, which is important for nurturing. The third question is, do you want to work with me? And they say yes. That lets us start a chat conversation with people that are hot. So yeah, that's worked really well. And then inside the Facebook group, we are doing things regularly in there to be able to drive engagement. So a challenge was one of the things. We did an investment challenge. We've done savings challenge. We've done lots of different things inside that group. So yeah, that's going to be my focus this year, is doing more inside that group, driving activity and engagement, because there's people in there that might have been ready, 6-12 months ago, but are now ready now. And if you're not constantly asking them, you miss those people. So yeah, that's sort of what's working, well for me, is that. Now, all that process happens automatically. We don't manually add people to an email list or anything like that. We use a software called Group Funnels that connects Facebook to our CRM that we use. We use Kajabi as our CRM. They talk to each other, and all that happens automatically. You set this up once, all those questions, the email nurture, and then you never have to do it again.
I love the automation piece, and I think it's so important, especially when you are, it's a volume game as much as it's not to say that, it's just about pumping more people in. Obviously, it's got to be the right people that are getting the right value, that are going to get the right results and be happy at the back end. But especially the more scaled you want your and more efficient you want, what you're doing to be, that the more you need to leverage that. Tell us, Adele, we were chatting a little bit just before we kicked off about like email content and nurturing from that. What are some of the learnings that you've had there? I might get you to answer that one first, and I've got a follow up for you as well.
Okay. So I think the thing is, email. A couple of years ago, I didn't realize how important email was. A year or so ago, I started concentrating on it more, and it is super important. But for a couple of reasons. One, I don't own Facebook. They could change everything tomorrow, and I could lose all those emails. So that's one thing. So the second thing is people actually still checking emails. So I still get really good open rates on emails. So and it's a way to build up that trust with people. So, and again, people might have been ready 6, 12 months ago, or now maybe they're married and had a kid and now they actually want to do something, or they've just turned 30 or 40 and yes, they do want to do something. So, that email nurture, if you're not constantly doing that, you actually miss, you can miss a lot of, people. So the email is really important. So, I send a weekly email, and I know other people in the marketing space, send 2 or 3 emails a week. I just send one a week, and that has worked really well for me. We get leads every week from email.
I found, I was just telling you before, but we started doing a weekly newsletter every Sunday. I started, it was actually January was the first one that we'd sent out, and I'd done a bunch of different things before, and like inconsistently, I would say, or tried in sort of fits and starts. And we've done it now every single week for a bit over a year, and I've found that it's amazing how many people. I think it's like 8% of our new clients that is their source. Which obviously the people come from a whole bunch of different channels, but that's amazing. It's just one little thing, and it's like ours is essentially content that most of the content is stuff that we've got either on our podcast or social media posts or different things, but it's just there in a way that people, it hits them, virtual tap on the shoulder. It's easy to read, digest, and action. And I've actually been surprised how well that's worked from a feedback perspective, traction, and ultimately, the inbound inquiries off the back of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am also a big fan of, because sometimes people hear us talking, that sounds like a lot of work, but it's actually not. What I wanted to pick up on is something that you just said, which was this content already exists. Financial advisors have so much content that marketing and nurture is actually easy for us to do if we've got a process in place. So for me, I do a weekly Q&A in my Facebook group anyway, and to my clients in My Money Buddy. My assistant takes that, who uses a program called, I think it's called Ottery, OTTER. Yeah. Otter, yeah, so she takes that and creates email from it. She puts a blog style post for Facebook. She creates a carousel for Instagram. She takes a quote from it and creates a meme. So she's got oodles of stuff from one thing that I've done. So and we've just refined that process over time. So when I do the training down the Facebook group, I make sure I stick to a certain structure, so it's easy for her to go, okay, well, this is the intro, these are the 5 points, this is the conclusion, and she can take it and run with it a lot easier. So I've given then great value to my community, and we've got oodles of stuff for email and Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, totally. I found, like, for us, we do, because I'm doing the podcast. I run my own podcast for Pivot, and we do 2 of those sessions a week, and then the team clip them into different videos, and they post a video, I think maybe even 2 videos a day, goes across a bunch of channels. Those bits and the summary that goes with them just get snipped in with, money hack of the week. It's one of the ones, they just pull out one that's a hack. Money mistake of the week, when one of the ones is a mistake, and then they put that in and just write a little blurb about it. Like, it's no extra work.
It's process, though. What you've got is a process, and I think that's key with any part of the business, but particularly with marketing. It's not, people think there's one thing that you can do that's going to magically give you all these clients. It's not, it's just consistency, and it's having a process and doing consistently, which is not exciting, but that's what works.
Yeah, totally. And I think that with marketing, because there's so many gurus out there and there's all this noise online, I know that I've fallen into this trap as well, that early on in my business, I felt like I needed to be doing all of the things. And it's like, you've got Facebook, you've got Instagram, there's TikTok now. YouTube, your email marketing, Facebook ads, like there's all these things, and you try to do all of them, and it's like you're playing surface level and unable to focus on them. But I found that for me, like, focusing in and just going, okay, I just want this one thing. I did LinkedIn day in and day out. I still do it day in and day out for 6 years. I've been on that one channel, and after a while, it started to build some traction, as you say, put a bit of a process behind it. And then we added on some video content. I started doing some video content and did that for a while, and then started slowly building a bit of momentum with a bit of YouTube stuff. And then we started add a podcast to it afterwards. But it's only once you can focus in on your stuff, polish up something that works to the point that you want it to be, get someone else to support you in doing it, that you can nail it. Unless you've got a super massive team that's well resourced that can, do all of that stuff. But it's easy to get lost, and then people go, oh shit, this isn't working, so I'll just give up. And then, that doesn't work or whatever. And it's just still that frustration. Adele, would you mention like email versus the Facebook group? And I have to say, I've never done, Facebook groups for my advice business. I know that you do it amazingly well in that Savings Squad community. What is the difference with the approach to content between, the different channels like email in particular versus something like a Facebook group? Is it a slightly different strategy or format? I know that you said you're repurposing content from the other channels, but is it a different strategy or is it just?
So I've got two Facebook groups. One is just for people, for my clients that have paid me, and then one is the free community. So so what I've done inside the Saving Squad, the free community, is we've done more like money masterclasses and 5-day challenges and things like that to really drive engagement. So we did that last year, a 5-day investment challenge. And so, rather than I know some people when they do challenges start a new group. I just used my existing group and did it inside there. So we've done the money masterclass, which is, that 30, 45-minute webinar. I don't call it a webinar, money masterclass. So I've used it to do that inside there. So I don't necessarily think, for me personally, posting every day and stuff in there, I haven't been doing that. But when I do an event, when I do like a challenge or a money masterclass, I've used it for that purpose. So and then it also serves as people when they enter, asking that question, do you want to work with me, and getting their email addresses. So that's where we've sort of done it. And then the email is where we're just sending out, the weekly sort of, I never ever would call it a newsletter, but a weekly, summary of what we're. So sometimes I do different types of emails. I change it up. So I would do more of a teach style email, and then I do more of a story style email, and then I do a really short, sharp email. So a little 9-worder. Are you still looking to start investing this year, or get your super sorted this year? So those short, sharp emails work really well because people think you're talking to them and they reply back to you and have a conversation. So I mix up, that's a sales email and starts that sales conversation. So those short, sharp emails work really well. You can't do them all the time. I do once of those a month. And then we've got different sorts of emails, around, some of them are teaching, different sort of style stuff.
Yeah, I think ultimately, and the beauty of the software that's out there these days is it gives you the insights as to what works and what doesn't, so you can test and measure. But I had those short
emails have been working very well. Of the engagement. Yeah,
I think as well, one of the things that I've found is that in the subject line, having them quite short and cryptic, and sometimes like not capitalizing letters in the correct way, which actually stresses me out a bit because I'm super anal with stuff. But you put a question in there and make it a bit weird, and people are like, shit, what's that? I'll open it up. Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to engage with that. So testing I think makes a difference.
The subject heading is as important or more important than the email body itself. And so, 100%. So I was just trying to think of the one I sent recently in the new year. I'll see if I can get it up because that one worked really well. I think definitely having the email strategy is important. Just keeps you front of mind with everyone.
One of my best subject lines was just money plans. And it was like no capital or money, and then no question mark or anything. I think it was got some crazy open rate and response rate off the back of it as well, that I think people get so much noise that you've got to sort of try different things that are different. They don't always work, like you say. Don't be afraid of making a mistake, but different things to see what gels with your audience and your list as well.
Yeah, so the one I had was working together. That was the last one that I sent. They got a really good response to. It just said working together. And then I've just said, their name. I'm going to work with a handful of clients in January. Would you like to work with me? I think that was a mistake that I've made early on, is not doing all this marketing and not asking for the sale. People go, I thought you were taking on new clients. Why would you think that?
It is really easy to fall into that trap, and you don't. I'm the same. That you get a bit gun shy, and you don't want to be too pushy, and so you fall into this give value. But sometimes just asking the question.
So that was the other one. Quick question was another one. That it said quick question was the subject heading. That worked really well. Yeah, there's lots of, but yeah, the subject heading is as important as the actual email itself. And asking for a sales email every now and again, like that 9-word. Hey, do you still want help sorting your super? And people are like, yeah, I do want help sorting my super. Yes. And those sort of ones are really important to do as well.
Yeah, I think the key is really being consistent and just trying things so that you can see what works and then building on the learnings from that. Adele, as you know, I love marketing, and I could talk about this stuff all day, but I know you're a busy lady, so really appreciate you sharing your insights. I'm keen though for people that are interested to learn more about the advisor support mentoring type setup that you're doing. Can you give us the big picture on that and how people can learn more?
Yeah, so I just had a special round number birthday. So I'm okay to say I'm 40 now. And that tripped over to me. Half my life has been in advice now. So it's now made me think about, well, how do I want to contribute? How do I want to give back to this amazing industry? I see so many advisors struggling and doing stuff, a hard way. And I just think if I could help support them and give back, that would be amazing. So, and now I've got my business to a place where I can do that. Now I have it where it's effectively a very scaled model, and I have, the kids in daycare. I have more time to give. So yeah, I'm really excited to work more with advisors to support them and to mentor advisors. So I really want to help them to see how valuable. I know they know how valuable they are, but make sure they're charging for what they're worth. That that they understand they can easily do marketing and not be something that's a burden. That serving clients doesn't have to be hard. We can make it easier by doing a few simple things. We don't have to work 100-hour weeks. So I just really excited to be able to give value and support advisors this year. And so if anyone is looking for support, to grow and scale their business, I'm happy to have a chat to them. They can find me, adelemartin.com. They'll find me. I'm always in the XY group. I love that group that you guys have created. I think it's an amazing community. So happy to have a chat about, what that might look like.
Awesome. Well, I know from the conversations that we've had over the last sort of, it's been a long time, but some of the insights that are there. So for anyone that is keen to do better on growth, which I think is pretty much almost everyone, feel free to reach out to Adele and do yourself a favor. Adele, thank you again. Really appreciate you sharing your insights.